Guys, if you watched before, I had a little battle with her, and for the last 35 minutes she's gone strong. So for probably a total of 45 minutes to an hour, she's gone real strong, just whining and fussing. And this is in that new kennel, and so by putting her in that new kennel, she just was not happy. She wasn't having it. So she finally settled down. Now I'm going to take her out, so for breakfast, turn into brunch. Because she still hasn't eaten yet today. So we're practicing the same thing that we do in the little kennel. She's going to have to come out under control. Spry. So I'm going to bring her out right away. Today we're going to do something a little different. Come on. You tell, come on. Come on. Spry. Come on. Come here. Sit. So today I'm going to make her sit before she comes out. Alright, come on. Good girl. Come on. Come on. No, little girl. Come on. Distraction today. Around. Taylor's a distraction. Come on. Come on. Come on. So we're going to get her really get her to do her thing, and then we're going to get her back in. So ducks can be a distraction today. She's going to go out and do her thing very good. That did take a while to settle. Come on, let's go. Very good. Come on. So I'm turning this into a fun little game for her to hurry back in and get in. So we got through some distractions there. Now Taylor's on place and Ellie's on place. So this is something different today too, that I'm gonna have to see if I can't get her to work through. And then we're going to change up our feeding today based on the struggle we went through. So here she kind of placed herself. So what do I want to do? I want to make sure that I don't call her off of it. I'm going to pick her up off of it. We saw that last night where she jumped up on place a couple times. So now the distractions, sit, good. The distractions that are here today, if you guys watched back a couple weeks, or I guess it'd be about a week ago, where we took the wall down. We used to build a wall here because she'd hot lap through the house. Well, now I've taken the wall down and I've gotten her to focus in the whole house. But now I've got Ellie over there on place and Taylor on place. And so I'm going to still work on I'm simply working on recall and sit, and then a little remote sit. And then we're going to feed her, and today we're going to feed her in a different spot based on the issue we had with the new kennel today. So if you guys are just tuning in, earlier we really struggled with this pup. I'm going to set my tripod up. Sit. Good. Because we struggled with a new kennel today. And the pup got real noisy in the new kennel. Sit. Good girl. So now I'm gonna set this up like I normally do. I'm gonna try to recall her through. Now she may go and check out the house. Come on. Very good. There's a distraction. Come on. Sit. Good. Now what I'm really happy with right now is you guys that have been watching and seeing what we've been doing. We just went past, Taylor, get up. We just went past major distractions. We went past the rug that was a huge distraction in the past. There's a towel that's hanging on the stove that was a huge distraction in the past. The doorstop over here was a huge distraction in the past. The fact that the house is open right now was a huge distraction in the past. So I just brought her down there and had her sit remotely, and she avoided all those distractions. So to me, that's huge. That was a big step. So I'm going to come over to her. I'm not going to call her off of it. Very good. Come on. Now I'm going to give her a little freedom. I'm not going to be nearly as strict with her. I'm going to hold this so you guys can see it. I don't want to tempt her. Now, this is that part that I don't like about her getting on and off beds by herself. Because what happened yesterday, she did that and then she jumped on and off by herself. So I don't want... So I'm going to... Come on. Just my tone of voice. I'm going to get her to work through some of these distractions. Very good. That's very good. Come on, come on. She wants to go one way, I'm going the other. Come here, come on, come on, come on. Come on. Sit. Sit. Very good. Very good. We're building in remote sit here. So I'm just putting her in different places. So a lot of people have been sending videos, and I love it because it tells me that you guys are working. You're putting in the work. You've got a plan, now you're executing the plan. So that's huge. One thing I want to challenge the people that have been sending the videos in to do is, I'm seeing the same video now, and it's been a couple weeks. And a lot of progress, which is great. Now I think we're getting into a comfort zone. Some of us are getting into a comfort zone of things are going really good, so they're going to keep doing it, which is fine. This is that part I don't like about her getting up on the bed by herself. But the problem is I want to see people start moving locations. I want the same habit in every location, not just in one spot in my kitchen. See how she's got a natural tendency of getting up on her place, which is fine. I don't want to call her off. So to fix it, I'll tip the place up. Come here. Now she's never done sit in my living room before. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. Sit. Now you hear my tone get serious when I need it to be serious. So she's never done sit. She's never done a remote sit. She's never had me go on the other side of the coffee table. These are all just extensions of the stuff we've been doing. But what I'm really happy with is wherever we've taken her, whether it's our house, whether it's Whitetails Unlimited dinners, whether there's 700 people at them or 200 people at them like there were this weekend, we're getting consistent behavior out of her. What that tells me is the repetition and the consistency is there to create the behavior, and now we can change locations and we're transferring it. Very good. Very good. So today, not a lot different than the last couple days on the outside. Come on, come on, come on. No, 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 no. Come on. But I'm leading her all around my house. I've never done this before with her, guys. We've never done this. Come on, come on, come on. See how she worked through that distraction? Sit. Sit. Into Sierra's room. Come on, come on, come on, come on. Now you want to talk about distractions? There's a lot of distractions. Come on, come on, come on. Sit. But all these distractions, come on, come on, come on, come on. No. Sit. All these distractions, what's staying the same is what I'm asking out of her from a behavior standpoint. Recall, sit, remote sit. Simple, guys. It's super simple. But I'm adding all these different things to it now that are making it, she's got to prove to me that she can work through them. Very good. No, I'm not going to allow that. There's a behavior she picked up this weekend. Big crowd of people, roll over on my belly, and everyone will scratch it. So now when I reach down to praise her, good. She's got this little tendency of rolling over. This is the point where she would nip and bite someone new. Right here, she'd nip and bite them. And occasionally, she actually tested me that way this weekend. She nipped and bit at me a little bit after doing it to 15, 20 different strangers. And then us teaching her, no, you can't do that. People step back. And we went through this whole big thing. And she actually got the guts to test me out and go, well, I'll try him out too, see if I can get away with it. We put a quick end to that. So this is the point where she would nip and bite at a new person. All right, come on, let's go. So I'm going to move her through the house again. Come on, come on. Move her through a distraction of Ellie. Come on, come on. No, 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 no. Again, I don't want to call her off the bed. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. Come on, come on, come on, come on. Come on, come on, it's a good girl, come on. So that's a ton, sit. It's a ton of nice distractions for her to get through. No food. I didn't have to give her any kibble. I still kept her attention. I had it in my pocket in case I needed it. Didn't have to. Sit. Very good. Now, I'm going to end this quickly because we're behind. So we're going to go to the shop today. We're going to do some live retrieves with her because I did a little bit this morning. We went live earlier and I talked about earlier this morning the live we went was I was just showing her impatience. She barked and whined and fussed for about 45 minutes to an hour in the new kennel. It was a new place that she normally settles right down into that little one. I said, well, it's time for her to go into a little bit bigger one. And that change, that simple change, drove her nuts. I couldn't let her out. I couldn't let her out at that point and reward her for it. So I had to wait it out, worked on the computer, emails. I actually got caught up on all the messages right now. For the most part, I think I'm caught up. Not on emails, but on Facebook messages. I'm still catching up on the emails. But it took close to an hour. And when she did settle in, I went live again really quickly because I told you guys I was going to go live as soon as she did settle in. She settled in. We got her outside. And now we went through and worked on this nice little session of distractions, recall sits. And now I'm going to feed her. So what I'm going to do a little bit different on this feeding is, this is going to be a real test of patience for her to wait through this. Because we have not done this. We don't do it this way normally. But we do the same thing, it's just in a different routine. So regardless of the routine, I gotta maintain consistent behavior. So I'm going to get her food together. By the way, last night, if you guys missed it, we did that call-in, and I thought it went really well. Got a really nice response from it. We're going to continue to do it in the future. So I'm getting her food watered down like I always do. I'm a big fan of putting water on the food. Even the big dogs. Since we've gotten this puppy, I've started watering all the bigger dogs' food. I'm having a ton. I like that a lot more. It's surprising how much I can get done while waiting for Fee to settle. I hear you, Megan. Megan has Fee. Fee's a twin sister to Spry. So now, here's the difference I'm going to do today. She does not like this kennel. She's howled in it. She's whined in it. I'm actually going to feed her in it today. I don't normally feed them I feed them when they're older in the kennel. It's no problem. I want them to enjoy the kennel. I don't want the kennel to be punishment. So with her issue this morning with the kennel, I'm going to steady her up. I'm actually going to push this in a little bit further. I'm just going to line her up into it just like I would lining her up for her food normally. Now she goes, what? I go in here and I get to eat? So I'm going to let her get in there. And I'll let her eat in there today. So we fed her. We're going to feed her today in this. And I'm not doing it to try to trick her into liking it. That's not how I think this will help with her liking it. But I didn't give in to her. I let her fuss and whine for about an hour before I let her out to eat. So if you go back and watch the live before, you'll see. And then I had somebody call. I had someone call and wanted to talk about game recovery stuff. So I talked game recovery stuff. And that little dog was going berserk in the background. So that person got to hear it live. But as soon as she did settle down, that's where we did. So I'm going to go through some quick questions here. And then I'm going to get on my way to the shop after she gets done eating. And then we're going to do some retrieving this afternoon there. I've got a Post-it note full of stuff. I've got something that I want to talk. Chris Borgman had a question that he sent in. Tonight I think we'll talk about that, and I'll show you how to do it. That's with feeding two dogs at the same time. Chris is having some things come up at his place, so we're going to show you what I would recommend to do. Let's see. Zeke has been doing that all week too, rolling over for belly rubs. It's a real escape. It's for me, it tells me that the dog has figured out a little escape mechanism and really wants to get petted. And so when they roll over on their belly, it's submissive. I don't mind that. When they get to the point where they're laying on their back, it's too submissive. It's getting out of whatever you want them to do. There's nothing I want a dog to do off of his back. I don't mind them being submissive, but I have to find the balance with that. I can't get them to be so submissive that they roll over. So that puppy found that out quick this weekend. If she rolls over on her back, people will scratch her belly. So we have to fix that as well. Great change today, Cold Brewer. It was. Happy Tuesday is right. I'll be really honest with you guys. We're off to a hell of a week so far. Monday was excellent. The call-in was really good. Today has been good. I'm going to say it's good, even though she fussed and whined and made a fit in that new kennel. that's good. To me, now we're taking steps because I'm going to get her to settle into the new kennel just like I did the first one. She wasn't a quiet angel the first time I put her in the small kennel either. So I'm going to replicate what we did in the small kennel in the big kennel. Sean joined in from our Canadian neighbor to the north. Now, Sean, I saw earlier you having a hard time getting home from the Iowa Deer Classic. Sounded like the roads were not good. When you approach your pup and it rolls over on its back, how come you don't praise that? I always thought it was just meant they wanted a belly rub. When you approach your pup and it rolls over on its back, how come you don't praise that? I've always thought it was just meant that it, well, I think I just answered that, Stephanie. It's an escape mechanism. There's nothing I want a dog to do off of his back. I want the dog. I want a dog to be ready to do something. So I want him in a like if they were an athlete, I want him in an athletic stance. So rolling over on their back goes, I quit. Just roll my belly. I don't want that. So I don't want to give them reward for an escape. Hey, Jeremy, is your stance on the ground, in-ground fences, same as collars? Just curious. It'd be nice to let him out without warning. I'm not so against them. My problem with an in-ground fence is I like them more than a shock collar, if that's possible. I don't dislike things much more than a shock collar. So now, she got done eating. I pulled the bowl out so she doesn't have a toy to play with. And now instead of place training, she's got to settle into the kennel. We'll see how long this takes. But the problem I have, the thing that I don't mind about, I totally understand the insurance of having the in-ground fence. What I like about them more is at least they're consistent. It's not controlled by us with our timing when it comes to putting the pressure on. It's consistent. It's pretty black and white. I think if you're in a spot that I'm not against it, because if you're in town, if you're in a spot that there's a risk of cars and all that stuff, I still have seen before in-ground fences were invented, people could train dogs to stay in yards just like we can train dogs to stay in rooms within our house, just like we can train dogs to stay on place. It's just place is a micro version of what the in-ground fence is going to do. That's macro. So there was someone who had asked about that not too long ago, and what I said was I would look at your yard and figure out ways to kind of section off my yard, whether it be tree lines, whether it be where landscape changes, sidewalks, trails, roads, whatever, some type of a physical change, and I'd use that as a boundary and try to work towards that. Now, if you're in town, I think you have that advantage with like sidewalks and stuff. I get that you don't want to risk it. I think it goes back to the idea of control, Mike. I want such good control of my dogs that I don't have to worry about them running off. And so that's just, it's a big version of that. So, I'm not against it nearly like a collar, Mike. With you transitioning to your dry kibble, will you transition? I've become, since we've got Spry, I hadn't been watering the dog's food down for, you can tell someone's not happy again. I hadn't been watering down the food for the old dogs till we got Spry. I started doing it. One of the reasons I like it is because I feel like my dogs at times become binge drinkers, where they don't drink for a while and then all of a sudden they get water and they drink so much that it completely throws us off for our schedule as far as housebreaking. And if so what I'm trying to do, what I'm liking about watering the food down is I feel like I'm very controlled with how much water and how much food they're getting. They can drink, when I feed, I'm feeding twice a day, so I'm feeding a small enough amount in that bowl that I can fill it to the top with water and kibble, and I think they're getting as much water or more than they were when I was just giving them drinks. So I feel like I'm keeping them more hydrated, and I feel like I have better control of it that way. So I might go back to just dry kibble. I did it on the road this weekend. I didn't water the food down because it wasn't convenient. But at this point, I kind of like the idea of watering it down, and I think it's kind of helping with digestion, to be honest with you. What ratio of water to food do you use? I'm afraid to make puppy soup. I have a set amount of food based on how much the puppy is eating in one sitting. So for a while there, if you go back on our videos, you'll see that there was a time where the pup was leaving food in her bowl when she was done. She was full, she'd walk away, there was still food. At that point, I cut back on the food until she was eating it up and I thought she still wanted more. Then I put a little bit more. So I've just fine-tuned it to find out how much she is. My older dogs, I measure it. I don't measure it, but I know how much I'm putting in the bowl. And that's based on how they physically look. I want them to be in as good a condition as possible. Now, Taylor's coming off of a litter, so she was really out of shape. We're slowly getting her, from an athletic standpoint, back into shape. So I've been giving her an adjusted amount of food based on, I need to cut some weight on her a little bit, but and get her back into working shape. But the pup, I was letting her dictate how much she's going to eat. So the ratio of water to food, whatever that amount of food is, I just fill the bowl up with water. So I don't think it's a problem with them getting too much. I think one of the problems I run into is sometimes with puppies is getting them to hydrate enough. A lot of times they don't just like drinking water by itself. So the ratio of food is whatever your food is, and then float it. At least get it floating. Then I think you got enough water in it. Starting to make some decent progress with place training. Thor's been getting a little quicker settling down. Still fusses a bit, but the time is shortened. Patience, patience, and then more patience. Jeff, you're in the same boat with all of us. Listen to my patience right now. The hair on the neck stands up when I hear these dogs whine like that. It's hard for me. If this was undoable, I waited. I heard it. Listened to it for about an hour. If it was undoable, you know what I'd do? I'd move the kennel into a different room where it wasn't right behind me. Then at least it's out of sight, out of mind, and I'm not driving myself bonkers. But it's if the way I turn off this whining and fussing is by giving them what they want, that's like putting a fire out with gasoline. It just won't work. Lost my toothpick there. Let's see. I'm just starting to train my 5-month-old yellow lab Lucy. Is it too late? Not at all, Carrie. You got a puppy on your hands. This pup's only almost 13 weeks. So we're not far off. You got a puppy. I'm having difficult time, especially with my older dogs, and when she can sit, retrieve, and lay, but then she wants a belly rub. Any suggestions? Okay, back up. 5-month-old dog's a puppy. Is it too late? No. I'm having difficult time, especially with my older dogs. Not sure what you mean with that. You can't train that 5-month-old dog with older dogs. You have to train that 5-month-old to be great by itself and then incorporate distractions. Distractions are dogs. So the other dogs need to be very good too, because culturally they are going to impact your 5-month-old. So if your other dogs get away with a bunch of stuff, your little one's going to fit right into that pack and get away with a bunch of stuff. You can't. So it's got to be consistent. It's like having one kid have to listen and the rest just do whatever they want. It won't work. So and when she can sit, retrieve, and lay, but then she wants a belly rub. Any suggestions? Back to the belly rub thing, escape mechanism. Why work when I can just lay on my belly and get rubbed? So that we won't praise, we won't reward. We get them back up. So 5 months old is a great age. I love retrieving. With retrieving, be careful on teething. You might be coming up on teething, or you're teething right now. 4 to 6 months is usually, I think, when that happens. On most dogs, no retrieving during that time. You can have all sorts of issues. You're going to create habits that you don't want down the road. So avoid retrieving during that teething period of time. With where I live, we have about 18 acres, but we also live on a very busy road, so I wouldn't want my dogs to be out in the front yard much, the risk of them getting hit. So I think that makes perfect sense. That goes back to, are there perimeters? Are there things that are physically there that you could train the dogs that they don't go on the other side of? So that's you assessing your situation. And then setting it up. But train a dog to not come into the front yard. If you got 18 acres, that's a long ways from the road, possibly. And so you may teach the dog that it can't go past a certain point. It's a macro version of micro place training. I watered down Tiffin's food because scarfs it and chokes on dry kibble, so I cover the food with water and slowly. Yeah, so that can help with that as well. I like it just from a hydration standpoint. Thanks for making. Thanks. That makes sense. Appreciate it. The reason I ask is our boundaries are tough. Someone's wooded yard goes right by the road. We have a ton of neighbor dogs in the interstate and roads. Yeah, so I'm not against it, Mike. I think the one nice part about it is at least we're not going to screw it up. Unless the batteries die or something goes wrong, haywire with the collar part of it. When you eliminate the human part of it when it comes to those collars, I think part of the problem is the humans. It's not the collar. The collar creates negative issues that I don't I think that is it's like taking a diet pill. They don't work. So it might work real quick for a short period of time, but you're going to have major issues when it comes through. But the nice part about the in-ground thing is you eliminate the human part of it, which is a lot of the problem. Thanks, you're welcome. Spry's getting so big. We love Spry. Spry is doing well. Welcome, Nicole. She's coming along. Okay, thanks. Yes, she won't do what I tell her when the older ones are around. Separate. You gotta separate them, Carrie. It's a distraction thing. So we talk all about distractions. You heard me talk in this one about Spry had to listen with new distractions. Some of those distractions were too much for her earlier. The rugs. I couldn't do anything with the rugs on the ground. That dog wouldn't leave them alone. She just wanted to play with them. I couldn't do anything with the towel on there. She'd want to tear that apart. There's a doorstop over there that if you go back, she wouldn't leave the doorstop alone. She played with it. The dogs on their beds, she couldn't even think about listening to me when the dogs were on their beds. She couldn't think about listening to me when I didn't have a wall built that she could go through the living room. So we had to slowly introduce new levels of distraction, and that's what you got to do too. What should I do when my dog gets jealous when I show my fiance affection? That's going back possibly to a dominance thing, Steve, that we talked about with Jennifer last night on the call-in. Hers was a food aggression thing. Dog's got to learn to where he is or she is in your pack. So I would have that dog sit in control on place or under my feet at night, and you spend all the attention you want with your fiance, and that little dog's just gonna have to watch and be okay with it. It's a pack thing. You got a dog that thinks he's a little bit higher than the pack, that maybe definitely your fiance and maybe you as well. A lot of little things that you can do. You can have staring contests and never lose. Have your fiance have a staring contest, never lose. The leader's gonna outstare the other one. Submissive one's gonna look away first. Go up to that pup and pet the pup. If the dog's licking his lips, it's a nice sign that dog is showing submission to you. So all these little mannerism things that you can do to establish. Feeding times. Have fiance feed the dog. You feed the dog. You guys eat first. Dog watches you guys eat first together. So all those are little subtle things that aren't necessarily training, but they're establishing where your dog is at your house. Chris wants to know, do you think part of Todd's food aggression issue is because he was sick when his owners adopted him and they may have coddled him because he was sick? You know, that's interesting. That was the interesting part of last night was they didn't have Todd until he was 6 months old, and Todd came from a quarantine where he was sick with, I think they said, kennel cough. So for let's say when the pup was 2 months old until 6 months old, that's a 4-month window. I don't know what happened in those 4 months. No, probably nobody knows. There could be a ton of stuff that happened there that was creating an issue and creating a problem that had to be worked out, and that's what Jennifer and Joe are trying to work out now. Remember, he's only 6 months, only been with them 6 months, so it could definitely be. That's a good question. When that pup came home, I wonder how. It's a good question for Jennifer. I wonder how he was. I think I might have asked it, and I don't remember what the answer was, is if that dog was aggressive when you first brought him home or not. I do think that it was interesting that they've seen some improvement over the last week or so. When you think about that, that's a really, really small period of time. And when you ask, well, when did you start making some of these changes that we've talked about a week ago? So I think there's a lot of hope for Todd. For those who don't know, Todd was the dog we talked about last night with some aggression things. I think there's a lot of hope for Todd. I think what it's going to take is a complete 180 by Jennifer and Joe and Copper, the other dog in the house, to start changing and then build off of it. Change and build, change, build, change, build. They're going to have to keep building off of success. How do you know when it's time to move them into a larger crate? I have an adjustable wire one. Well, if I go over here and I show you this one, little Spry here was I don't know that she needed to get moved out of this one, but when you see her sit up, her head is about at that height right now. So she actually, when she was standing, I think she was fine in there. But if she sat up, I think her head hit the ceiling. So I don't think that it was uncomfortable for her. 90% of the time when she's in there, she lays down in it and falls asleep. So I don't know that there's to me, it's a comfort level thing, and she's about as maxed out as I would want to put her in that kennel. I don't have a problem with her in that small kennel. I would still keep her in it. Ellie uses that gray one that she's in right now, and that's probably a little small on Ellie because Ellie is tight in there, but Ellie goes in and lays down. So I don't know that that little green and white one next to it was bad. I just happened to put her in the big one and found out that I've got a hole in my training. I've got a dog that doesn't settle down in kennels. She settles down in one kennel. Now I need to settle her down in all the kennels. So that was something that I didn't plan on doing that today, but it happened. So we're just going to adjust to it, and now that's something that I've got on my list of things I want to work on. So that's it for questions, guys. Great having you in on this. I'm glad. It was very easy. It was a nice, easy little lesson. We reinforced things that we had been doing. I confirmed some things that I think the dog is getting really strong with. Her foundation of sits and recalls and working through some of the distractions. The remote sits are getting better. And the reason I know it is because we did them in different locations. So we're going to continue to do it. I'm going to go to the shop here this afternoon. We're going to try to do a retrieve at the shop. I'm going to do it when Kieran comes in so that he can film it. So I think we'll make some retrieves with that training dummy. I want to start. I think it is time for her because she's had some success with retrieves. Again, I'll talk about this when we get there, but this is the hardest dog I've had ever to make retrieves. And the reason was she wasn't ready, and I tried to make her do it. She wasn't ready. So she's showing me that she's become a little bit more ready now. Patience, and then more patience. So we're going to do that. I want to start her understanding the shape of the antler is going to equal retrieve. So that's what we're going to start working on that training dummy with. It was real interesting. I took her for a walk this morning. Made retrieves with the other dogs with the canvas bumper, and she had a tendency that she was picking up a lot of sticks, the pup was, and she actually was bringing some of them back to me, and I was rewarding her for that. But today I saw, because we've been doing a little bit more retrieving, and I don't know if it's a coincidence, but today I saw her go past several sticks, not pick them up. And that tells me that she's starting to go, not everything equals a retrieve. Now that tells me it's time to start making sure certain things will equal retrieve. That's where the training dummy is going to come in. So we're going to start that this afternoon. So hang in there, guys, with me. It's a process. I thought about it here recently, and I thought, we're getting kind of boring. We're doing the same damn thing over and over and over again, and I don't want people to get bored. Well, reality check. Sometimes this stuff is kind of boring. But the thing about it is it won't be boring when I get to do a lot of fun stuff with that dog, and I won't be able to ever do it if I don't do this boring stuff. So we're just going to get through it. And when the time comes to take the next step. Big step by me saying, hey, we're going to make some retrieves. And I'm not even nervous about it. We're going to make some retrieves. I think the pup's going to go make some retrieves. That's a huge difference from 2 weeks ago. So it seems like a long time. It seems like it's drawing out to me. It seems like it's getting boring. But then I look back and I go, it really wasn't that long ago that I couldn't get her to sit. It really wasn't that long ago that I couldn't get her to do anything outside of an 8-square-foot pen with focus. And today, hell, I had her running through the house with dogs on beds, and I was able to get her through it. So we're going to get there. We're just going to take our time to get there. It's the one thing that I hope I can stress is there's no time limit on this stuff. So one last question. Just got a pup that was basically free-fed with all the other pups. How do I get her to settle long enough so I can get her to give her the food while settled? Ashley, all of our pups are free fed the day before we bring them home. So it starts now. It starts the day you brought the pup home. Go back. I don't know how old your pup is right now, Ashley, but go back. So here, Robin just did it for me. Save videos on Facebook. Go back to the very beginning, Ashley. It's I don't know, guys, 4 weeks ago probably. Thank you, Robin, for that. Go back and look at the very, very beginning when I started with Spry. You'll go into our videos and you'll go down through the lives. She's 7.5 weeks old, I think, when we started with her. And that's exactly where... So you got an 8-week-old pup. You said she's just 8 weeks. Go back and watch Spry. You'll see exactly what... Don't plug in an 8-week-old puppy where Spry is right now. You'll just be so frustrated and disappointed. You'll quit. That's what happens. People see that. Watch all these videos, Ashley, because you're going to see me go through a roller coaster of emotion. You're going to go through the same one. So keep watching the live ones because I think they're interactive, and we can get this going. You're going to be able to see stuff because the rate and pace that your dog goes is different than Spry's. So if it takes longer, then you take longer. If it goes quicker, then you move quicker. There is no time on this stuff. Time is for people. Dogs don't care about time. So go back and start watching those, and you'll watch. Be ready for the arm workout, Ashley. I held, within a week after we started it, I still was holding on to Spry at times for 45 minutes before I would set her down to eat. So you're gonna find that out, and you're gonna love it, because you're gonna start seeing success, and it's gonna be very little. It's gonna be baby steps, but then you're gonna build off of it. So Ashley, go back to the beginning. Anyone else who's jumping in late, I should probably start doing that and make that announcement kind of tonight when we get bigger numbers. We always do bigger numbers in the evening, but I think a lot of people are joining in late and going, boy, that's pretty cool. I want to try that with my dog. And then they fail because they try to punch in a little 8-week-old puppy where 12.5-week-old Spry is. It won't work. So go back, watch from the beginning. And if you have questions, Ashley, that's the nice part about live. We can talk on it. So you guys have a great rest of your day. I'm going to be live again. Boy, this might be a world record for us on lives, but we're going to go live at the shop. We're going to make retrieves. We're going to do some stuff tonight. I'm also going to start heel work soon, guys. So hang in there. That's on my list for this week, because if you watched yesterday, we did tying out, and we got a puppy that's starting to give depression to the neck, and I think it's time for us to do a little heel work. That heel work is going to allow me to really firm up the idea of taking pup out to go to the bathroom and come back in. She did nice today. Last night she struggled. So I'm going to start possibly putting her on lead when we go out to the bathroom and come back in. But I won't do that for the first time I do that won't be to bring a dog out to go to the bathroom. The first time the dog goes on lead is going to be, we're going to be focusing on just that, getting a dog to work on lead with me. So it's all layers. Layer, 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 layer. You have to have this layer to build this layer. You have to have that layer to build this layer. So we're just adding layers, guys. Have a great day, and share these if you would. Put the little notification on. I'll do my better job of trying to announce when they're going to be as well. So you guys hang in there with me. We'll get through it together, I promise.